And thanks for staying with us. It's Breakfast Central. Time for the front pages. Let's see what papers and what stories we're taking, especially stories making the headlines for today. And joining us for this will be Public Affairs Analyst Jide Ojo. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Well, to begin the conversation, let's take the very first paper. And our very first paper will be The Punch, as you can see it there. There you have it. Like I said, the time we had to discuss with Mr. Wilcox seemed to be, I think 1 hour is not enough to discuss the Financial Times article in addition to this one. But let's take a look at the front page. It says, Naira plunges to 1,025 to a dollar.
Hi.
Job losses, factory shutdown loom. I wish I could talk more on this, but then again, Forex crisis hinders raw materials procurement, causes financial problem, according to NECA. SMEs decry impending shutdown. Reps probe airlines, schools demanding dollars. It's a problem.
An actual problem.
It's a problem. For parents, let me speak to parents on this as well. For parents who just paid school fees, you find out that the cost of school fees was indeed expensive and so on. But then again, this is a major problem. Well, let me quickly go to this one now and invite our Public Affairs Analyst, Jide Ojo. Jide Ojo, let's have you react to this very first story. Naira plunges and, of course, the impact it's having on Forex, and not forgetting to reps saying they want to probe airlines, schools demanding dollars. What's your take on this, sir?
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. I think it's not unexpected that we'll be facing this kind of economic crisis, because what is our productivity level? What's our revenue? And situations where there's a lot of leakages in the financial systems, but cannot but result into this kind of fiasco. I think the Tinubu administration needs to rejig its economic policy. Cardoso is barely 3 weeks on the job, but I mean, the president came out early in his administration to say it's going to float the naira, and that naira, the demand and supply will determine the true value of naira. And this is more like acting the Bretton Woods institutions advisory. I mean, World Bank and the IMF. We know that, as we say in economics, ceteris paribus, all things will never be equal. You need to intervene. And unfortunately, the intervention that the president has made is not sufficient to stabilize the naira. Recall that about a month and a half ago, we woke up to the breaking news that Nigeria has gone to borrow $3 billion from Afrexim Bank of Egypt. And we are told that the whole essence of borrowing that money was to help stabilize Naira so that Naira can gain some strength. Unfortunately, we are now approaching Zimbabwean situation where the Zimbabwean dollar at some point it became so valueless, like it's being used like a tissue paper. And that's what it seems like, unless something urgent is done. Peradventure, the government, the Tinubu has to summon the National Economic Council and get some sound advice from leading financial experts and economists on how to reverse this situation. But from my own layman opinion, I think it's just because we are not handling enough foreign exchange. We are not meeting our crude oil quota because of oil theft. That will have shown up our foreign exchange earnings. We have already borrowed in advance. 3 billion that we borrow was to be liquidated with a crude swap. Because I read last week that Dangote Refinery said they could not access crude oil from NNPCL because the crude that were explored in the last 2 months were being used to offset what we borrowed from Afrexim Bank of Egypt. So according to our Dangote Refinery, they are not going to get crude supply from NNPCL until November. So at the end of the day, we are not meeting our OPEC quota. We are not having enough foreign exchange. And you want to leave Naira to find its true value by floating the currency. It's never done. Not even in US will you do something of that nature. So I think we need to look at measures that can help strengthen our currency, and this will include increasing our productivity, maybe from solid mineral, from ICT, from crude oil exploration, royalty, and all of that, so that we can have this more currency strengthening. Because as we approach December now, with foreign exchange remittances most likely going to be increasing, what has also happened is currency speculation. Because this figure on the front page of Punch is an official figure.
Right.
If you go to the parallel market, you are most likely going to get a much lower value for Naira, maybe 1,200 or thereabout. Because most people who brings in their currency are not taking it to banks, rather they take it to Bureau de Change, to exchange for higher value than what the banks are going to give you. So long story short, I think we just need to have more foreign exchange legitimately. Maybe like Falana, Learning has suggested, we need to do a kind of currency swap, in which case many of our imports could be done in local currency, Naira, like the one that the memorandum of understanding that we had with China, that we buy goods from China and pay in Naira, and then we can also get yuan. But to denominate our economy on US dollar is dangerous. I learned Kenya has negotiated to use Kenyan shillings to also buy products from the international market. I think if we do that, we may also be able to strengthen Naira. But situations where every import depends on sourcing for foreign exchange, sourcing for dollar to import even consumer goods items, will continue to weaken the value of Naira because we are not earning enough. So if we can also get our Naira to be accepted in international trade with our trade partners, perhaps it will strengthen the currency.
That's a valid point you've raised. There are several valid points, actually. And one of the things that, we maybe might be looking at would be the fact that the new CBN governor has been urged to increase the rates to sort of help us find a balance. And I mean, we only have to wait and see. He's been asked to do this at the next policy meeting. Let's head over to the next newspaper and see what the front page of the Daily Trust has. And on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, the big story there says, of course, amidst high inflation, IMF asks CBN to continue raising interest rates. Economic growth too weak for that, according to an expert. Nigeria's growth projection cut to 2.9%. Our focus on non-debt funds flow, according to federal government. Stabilize Naira, curb speculative forex, reps urge CBN. Vehicle imports drops by over 100% in 5 years. Of course, people's buying power has fallen. There are many of us who hoped 2023 will be the year to buy a new car, but we've shifted our hopes to the next year. Why North has not moved forward in education, according to Sultan. Israel and Palestine, Netanyahu trying to start another world war, according to Bolaji Akinyemi. At the top of the paper, gunmen abduct 4 Nasarawa varsity female students. Army discovers bombs in Ikeja 21 years after blasts, begins clearance. Northwest governors chart ways for regional development agenda and security. I'd like you to also help us touch, if you still have a few points to make as regards IMF asking CBN to continue raising interest rates, that'd be good. But I know you had touched on some of the ways in which we can strengthen the Naira, how we can stabilize it. But I'd also like you to react to gunmen abducting 4 Nasarawa varsity female students, the state of insecurity in Nigeria.
Okay, so like I said on the previous issue of strengthening the Naira, you could see the duplicity of or the wrong advisory being received from these Bretton Woods institutions, IMF and the World Bank. We should jack up interest rates. Then how do you want to stimulate the economy when you jack up interest rates? When borrowing is going to about 30% interest rate, how many small and medium enterprises will be able to pay back such loans that you get from the bank at a double-digit interest rate. So what I'm saying invariably is that we cannot continue to raise interest rates and think we will stimulate the economy by doing that. The last meeting of central bank, they actually jack up the interest rates marginally. And if they continue to do that, it means that the money deposit bank, or what we call commercial banks, will also increase their interest rates to their customers. It then means that small and micro, small and medium enterprises will not be able to access loans and credit from banks, and that will harm their businesses, because at the end of the day, when they default in the payment of these debts, the next thing is that they could have their collateral confiscated, and that would mean the mortality of that business. But let me quickly go to the issue of abduction in Nasarawa State University. I think the whole exercise of safe school initiative that came on stream after the abduction of Chibok girls in 2014, we've not really keep eye on the ball, and it's so unfortunate because now this is spreading like wildfire. We've seen about 25 students of Zamfara State University abducted a couple of, I think last week. Now this has happened. It's not the first time a student or students of Nasarawa State University will be abducted, but it seems like bandits are now using students to make state government and their parents dry because of their vulnerability. Many of these students live in very rural communities because that's where they can afford accommodation. Since accommodations are largely not provided on campus, many have to rent apartments outside of the school. And when you understand the location of Nasarawa State University, which is in Kefi, which is a suburban environment of sort, it makes these students to be vulnerable to attack, either abduction or robbery or all of that. Even University of Abuja, that is more or less in a near cosmopolitan environment, we had a couple of years ago where some 6 workers of the university, I think lecturers and non-academic staff, were abducted by bandits. So we need to actually look more into how to ensure safety around our schools. One of the newspapers yesterday postulated that about 60,000 schools have been affected in terms of schools shutting down across the country because of incidences of banditry and abductions, with Niger State, Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara being our worst affected before you go to the northeast state of Borno. So we have not done enough. And then you talk about out-of-school children. How would that not happen? When students can no longer feel safe on their campuses, off campuses, when they cannot study peacefully, there is no other solution, no other way than for some of them to drop out of school, because it's only those who are alive that can study. And that will mean that we will continue to have the worsening crisis of out-of-school children on our hands. So Tinubu administration has its work cut out for it. I learned the national NCDC, that's Civil Defense, has trained some of its personnel to offer some protection around school. But this has also brought about, heightening the debate for state police. If we have state police, I think state police will be able to deploy armed personnel around the school premises, and in collaboration with some traditional institutions, they will be able to offer more security around the school and environments where many of the students live. But we continue to play the ostrich about this issue of state policing.
Yes.
At the best of time, I think even as we speak, despite the presidential order from Buhari's time that says 10,000 policemen should be recruited every year, that has not been fully complied with because of the face-off between the Inspector General of Police and the Police Service Commission, which had to be result in litigation. And I think it was only recently resolved by the Supreme Court that Police Service Commission is actually the one to recruit. Even constables recruit, promote, discipline, and all of that. So we need state police so that they can bear arms, they can offer better protection than we currently have around our schools.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Jide Ojo. I mean, you've spoken well, and it's always a pleasure to have you join us here on Breakfast Central with your analysis. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
You have a great day, my brother and sister. Stay safe and stable.
Great.